video, I'm going to show you how to build this cool motion sensor that connects to your Android device, any Android device that has Bluetooth, and when it's set off, it'll send a notification to that device. So first, let me show you kind of how it works. I'm going to go ahead and plug it in, and then over here on my Android tablet, I'm going to go to this app that I created. List the devices, you tap on the Bluetooth module, gives you a little toast that says successful. That means it's successfully connected. And when it does connect, it puts a invisible notification in the notifications to keep the Bluetooth service alive. And then when it's set off, it gives you a little notification and just says alert object detected at, and then it gives you the amount of inches. So if I do it over here, it says object detected at 15 inches. And that's basically how it works. And you just go back over here and press disconnect, and that was because that last notification was because it lost connection. So basically that's how it works. Now there's three parts to the to this project. There's the building of the Arduino. There's just the building of the mod of the sensor, which uses an Arduino, an ultrasonic sensor, and a Bluetooth module. And then there's the programming of the Arduino, and then the last part is building the Android app, which that part I will include. I will include the source code for the Arduino and the Android app in the description. And I also just include, if you don't want to look at the code and just want to get it functional, I'll also just include the APK or the app, so you can just install it right onto your device. So here are the four parts you will need. You of course need an Arduino, because this whole project runs using an Arduino. An ultrasonic sensor. This is basically the cheapest one I could find. It's called the HY-SRF05. Bluetooth module, another, again, the cheapest one I could find. And a battery pack. You might be wondering why the battery pack if I'm charging it using this. Well, for some reason, you also notice the Bluetooth module has a battery connector. For some reason, when I power the Bluetooth module just using the power rail from the Arduino, I get very weird readings coming from the ultrasonic sensor. So for some reason, there's interference or something, and I found that I can fix it if I power the Bluetooth module from a battery. And I still don't know why. I asked around in the Arduino forums, didn't get an answer. So for right now, it works, but the Bluetooth module needs to be powered by a a separate battery. And let me know if you figure out why or how to fix this, or if you had the same problem. Just let me know. But as you can see, the Bluetooth module, I've soldered on two wires onto the RX and TX, and then the battery connector onto the voltage in and ground. The SRF05, I've also soldered on wires to this. You'll see there's one extra pin. On this one, there's an out pin that isn't needed. Yours might be different. It depends which ultrasonic sensor you purchase. But basically, I've soldered wires onto voltage in, ground, trigger, and echo. And then I've also soldered pins onto the end so they plug in nicely into the Arduino. And then, of course, the battery. The reason it has electrical tape on it is because some of, like, for example, like the edge of like the negative side of the battery was like touching this, and like just to make sure no wires or anything touch any of the parts of the battery. So basically, I plugged in the RX or the trigger and echo into pin 2 and 3. I believe trigger, which is green, was pin 2, and echo was pin 3. Then I just plugged in positive to 5 volts, and then this over here to ground. Like so. Then next I plugged up the Bluetooth module. Make sure, this part's very important, make sure you plug the TX of the Bluetooth module to the RX of the Arduino. And the reason why is because if this is transmitting, this is receiving. If this is receiving, if this is transmitting, this is receiving. So it's basically backwards. So then I place the battery. Well, first I place the Bluetooth module, kind of wrap the wires around and place that right there. And then, let's see, this was underneath everything, like so. And sorry, you can't really see this, but basically I had it set up like this. I just plugged up the Bluetooth module. Then as you can see, the Bluetooth module blinks, meaning it is searching for connections. So once I had this all set up like this, you don't have to set it up like this. The only reason I've set it up like this is so it's pretty small, and then I just made this little box with 2 holes, and then just shoved it in there like that. And that is the setup of the Arduino. Next, we're going to switch over to my computer and check out the programming of the Arduino. First of all, there's several different ways to get the distance from the ultrasonic sensor. If you have like the official ping sensor, then you would use example sensors ping to get the distance. In this case, I don't have that sensor, so I'm using this other method. There's also another library that kind of makes it a little bit easier. If we just type in new ping library, this also works okay. I just found that sometimes it was a little bit, it would kind of give me some random distances. So instead of using this, I am just doing everything manually, which I'll explain to you in here. So the first thing we need to do is set up the trigger pin and echo pin. You're just going to type in wherever you put it into your Arduino. In this case, I plugged it into 2, my trigger pin into 2, and my echo pin into 3. We're going to be using the built-in LED on the Arduino Uno to show when it detects an object, and if it's not detecting an object, then it'll shut the LED off. We're going to create a long called max inches. This is the maximum distance. Anything smaller than this distance will trigger the sensor. We're going to set boolean, or however you pronounce that, for first time, and this is going to run the very first time, which we might also be able to put in setup, but whatever. And then another one for this will make so if it detects an object that's smaller than max, if it detects an object it's only going to send a serial data over the serial connection once. And so it doesn't so if you put your hand over the sensor, it's not going to keep sending I see an object, it's not going to continue to repeatedly send data. It's only going to send it once. So here's the setup method, I guess. First we need to start the serial connection with a baud rate of 9600. Then we're going to set the pin mode on the trigger pin to an output and the echo pin to an input. And this is just how I just copied the sensor code from another forum post. So, but this is basically how you have to set it up. You set the trigger pin to an output, the echo pin to an input. Then we're going to write the trigger pin to low, and then we're also going to set the built-in LED to an output. Here's our main loop. We're going to have 2 longs, duration in inches. This code right here, digital write trigger pin high and delay microseconds, and then digital write trigger pin low. This basically gets the data. This starts the sensor, the ultrasonic sensor, and then we're going to put that into a duration variable. And then we run this function, microseconds to inches, putting in the duration, and this returns inches, which is stored in the variable inches. And if we go ahead and go down and look here at the bottom, we can see those 2 functions. Here's microseconds to inches. If you prefer to use centimeters, there's also microseconds to centimeters. And it's just it just returns microseconds, blah blah blah. But it basically converts the time it took for the sensor to ping something, and it converts that to inches. Okay, so now that we have inches, if we're running this loop for the first time, we're going to set max inches to inches minus 5. So this is going to set. So for example, if you have your sensor and there's a wall 2 feet away, then the max inches is going to be that 2 feet away, and then minus 5 inches just to give it a little bit of a buffer. And that's what we're going to be using. Anything in between 0 and max inches is going to set off the event. And then we print, which we don't want this. That was just for debugging. And there we go. Then if this is the actual check to see if the sensor is being set off. If the current inch is less than the maximum number of inches, then we're going to do this block of code. And if done equals false, which is basically a check to make sure that it's only doing this once, then we're going to write the onboard LED to high, so it's turning it on. And then we're going to send data to this across the serial connection, which is also going to send it across Bluetooth. So this is basically how we're sending the data across. This line here is how we're sending the data across the Bluetooth. And it's going to send alert object detected at so many inches. And if you saw before, I had it in centimeters, but I have since then changed it to inches. And then we're going to set done to true, so it only runs this once. Because if done equals false, but if it's true, then obviously it's not going to run because it's not equal to false. So, and if inches is greater than max inches, then we're going to set done to false, which means it can be looking again for motion, and we're going to shut off the onboard LED. So, that's basically it for this. Pretty simple. And the way it anytime you print something to the serial, it's also sending it out of the TX pin on the Arduino, so it's sending it to the Bluetooth module anytime you do something on the serial. And if I go ahead and plug in my Arduino to the computer and save this and upload it, I will show you the serial monitor. And before you upload, make sure the Bluetooth RX and TX pins are disconnected, because when it's uploading it, it's sending data across the serial connection, and if you have something connected to the serial pins, like the Bluetooth module, it'll just mess up. I'm not really sure what happens, but it's not good. So now that it's done uploading, we're going to check the serial monitor. And here's the serial monitor. Now you can't see this, of course, but if I put my hand over the device, you can see it says alert, and it gives me the inches and a nice output, and it's pretty instantaneous. So there we have it, and that is the code for the Arduino. This is going to be very brief because there's so much code and you can just look at it and try to understand it yourself. But basically you're going to create a new Android product, Android Studio project, and select blank activity. And you come up with something like this. I chose a theme for mine, which you choose themes here. Dark action bar, which gives me this nice little bar across the top. And then basically I created 2 buttons: list devices, disconnect, a text view, and then a list view, and the list view will contain all the paired devices. So once you do that, you of course set all the buttons and everything, set their, like for example list view, set their ID on click. I also have on click IDs. And then we get over here into the main activity, and so basically this is our main activity class. I set up the buttons, the list view, create a Bluetooth adapter, create toast. Then on create, so right when this class runs, this is for when you click the paired item list, all of this. And so basically, let's go through it how you would actually run the app. So the first thing you do when you run an app is click the list button. It creates, once you click the list button, it creates a Bluetooth adapter. If it has a Bluetooth adapter, then it's checking to see if Bluetooth is enabled. If it's not enabled, then it asks, do you want to enable, Bluetooth must be enabled, do you want to enable it? If it is enabled, it starts a, let's see, if it is if it is enabled, it starts this Bluetooth list method. So let's go ahead and go find that. Bluetooth list will then get the list of paired devices, store in an array list, and then add it to the list view. Over here, it'll add all the paired devices into this list view. Then what you would probably do is click the paired item in the list. So that's this back over here, and when you click the item, it's first going to double check again, make sure Bluetooth didn't get shut off in the meantime for whatever reason. And if it is enabled, it's going to start a new service called, in the foreground service class, and it's going to start the action in the service with the keyword BT Connect, and it's also going to send the MAC address of the item you clicked. So once we go over here to foreground service, let's kind of go through this, how it would happen as well. First of all, if the service wasn't already started, which if you're clicking the device it would be starting for the first time, it's going to set up the service as a foreground service. It's going to set the notification using this method here, which is down at the bottom. Build foreground notification right there just sets up Bluetooth service to listen for Bluetooth data. Sets it up just to default app icon, and sets the priority. Then after it creates the foreground service, it's going to create the Bluetooth adapter, and we also have a handle here that anytime something is sent to this handler, it'll basically create a toast. But back to the onStart command, what we did was we clicked the list item. It's running this onStart command now, and if the action sent was btconnect, which is what we sent when we clicked the list item, first it's going to make sure that there's not already a Bluetooth socket open. Then it's going to get the MAC address that we sent when we started the service. Then it's going to create a new handler for listening for data. Then this is what happens if the handler basically is if it's unsuccessful or successful, it's going to run those two. But it skips that for right now and goes down here, and we create a new thread, because otherwise when we're trying to connect to the Bluetooth device, if it's not on a new thread, it will block the main thread. So we create the Bluetooth device using the MAC address and the Bluetooth adapter. Then with that Bluetooth device, we try to connect to the device, and it's going to open a socket, and we save that in BS for Bluetooth socket. Then if we have to do try, because all of these could return exceptions if they're not successful. So if it's not successful, then it's going to send to the handler up above, basically it was unsuccessful. Then if it was successful, creating the socket, then it's first going to stop discovery in case for some reason the Bluetooth on your device is set in discovery mode, because that'll just slow it down. And then we try to connect. And if we can't connect, then we close the Bluetooth socket and set it to null, which basically means we're clearing the Bluetooth socket. And then we send unsuccessful. If it couldn't close the socket, then we just ignore that exception. If it made it here, then was successful, and we post successful. So then we go back over here to these. If it sent unsuccessful, then it's going to create a toast unsuccessful, and the toast is just a little text that pops up onto the screen. And then it's going to stop the service or kill the service, so that way it's not running a service. And if it was successful, then it's going to run this method called connected thread. And the connected thread method basically is what listens all the time for data coming across the Bluetooth. So now we're going to scroll down here to the method connected thread, which starts here. And as you can see, it takes a Bluetooth socket. That's one of the arguments it requires. So basically we're going to create a new thread and use the socket and create a new input stream, and it's listening for input. Basically all of this is just listening for input. If it does find input, then it sends it to that handler that was in the onCreate event. So basically it creates a toast with the input, and then it also creates a notification with the title. This is a custom method I made, which this is the title and this is the content, and the content is whatever was sent across the connection. And what we send from the Arduino is alert object detect at so and so inches. So that's what's going to be in the notification. If the input stream gets interrupted, so cases where it'd be interrupted is if the user shut off Bluetooth, if the Bluetooth module was out of range, if something happened, then the input stream is going to get interrupted, and we're going to send a toast that said we lost connection, and also send a notification saying we lost connection, just to let the user know. And then we're also going to kill the service. So this is all in a new thread because the whole listening thing will block the main thread. We start the thread, and then also this notification method is right here. Basically creates a notification with maximum priority, it vibrates, and it uses the default ringtone. And that's basically it. There's a lot of other stuff, but that's the basics, and I'll include this project in the description. Remember to comment, subscribe. If you have any questions, let me know. We'll go ahead and look at the manifest. It needs permission, Bluetooth and Bluetooth admin, and make sure but of course this will all be in the project file, so you don't really need this. So that's basically it. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe, comment if you have any questions, and let me know what you think.